Hello, everyone. Welcome to Data Essentials Simply Smarter webinar. Today we are talking about summer trends. So get into your summer mood thinking, and we are going to be talking about some summer trends, as well as Clara is going to get all of you some thirst quenching insights on beverages. And then we're also going to talk a little bit about social listening, which we just rolled out at Data Essentials. So that's going to be amazing to go through as well. And so, as I mentioned, Claire Conahan, she is a fellow trendologist here with Data Central and associate director as well with our publications team. So, thank you for joining me, Claire. So we will start right off. And yes, please let us know where you are tuning in from. And if you are feeling like we are going to see summer anytime soon, we had a really gorgeous day. Was it yesterday and 2 days ago here in Chicago? Today it's a little chilly, but we'll give summer weather some time to make its way onto us. I am looking forward to that for sure. And make sure that when you are chatting to everyone and not just hosts and panelists. So just a look at the calendar for May and June. I cannot believe that we are talking about June already. That is coming up so soon. But as a reminder, we have several different webinars, not just the Simply Smarter. So our next one is going to be May 13th, Purchase Potential in Europe. I had to look up what BST was. That is British Standard Time. So that one will be from our European colleagues. And then May 22nd, we have Summer Sips, so summer adult beverage trends. That'll definitely be something to tune into. And then our next Simply Smarter webinar will be June 12th. Hui and Anne and Jack will all be here to talk about Data Central 500. That is our top chains report. So those will be some that make sure you tune into. Go visit datacentral.com/webinar. You can sign up for all of those there. And then it is lovely to talk to you all on this webinar, but it's even cooler to see everyone in person. So if you are going to be at the NRS, I have to start saying that, the National Restaurant Show, not to be confused with any other acronym now, that is coming up May 17th to the 20th. I remember I always like talking about NRA, had to make sure that people knew which NRA I was talking about. So no more confusion. Got to just switch that little thing. It's like when you have to get ready to write down 25 for the year instead of 24. So just make that switch in your minds. The NRS show coming up May 17th through the 20th. A bunch of us will be there. Booth 1370. Are you going to go this year, Claire?
I think so. I think I might
Okay.
swing that way.
Awesome. Okay. So I'll actually be in San Francisco. So if anyone is out there, maybe I'll catch you over there. Not going to the show, unfortunately, this year, but always a great one to attend. And then Data Central Elevate. If any of you are in our exclusive Elevate community, that is our in-person experience that will happen June 4th and 5th. I will be kicking that off by actually talking about emotions and the connection between emotions and eating and feelings and all of that. So should be a really fun one. And then we always like to kick things off with a little bit of an icebreaker. I had a different question I've wanted to ask for a while, but I feel like it's one of those like thinking ones and not one that like I only knew how to answer it because I think about it a lot and I like have prepared that answer. But I thought a fun one was if you had the power to make any food or beverage ingredient, basically just like nothing at all. It's just zero calories, zero fat, zero carbs, maybe some protein and some vegetal powers in there. You know, maybe it has all the nutrients you need, but nothing else. What would it be? So lots of answers rolling in right now. Um, what are you thinking, Claire? What would yours be?
I agree with what seems to be the majority answer. Pizza would
Pizza.
100% be mine.
Yeah. Okay. I see a lot of ice cream, fries. I thought about pizza, but you know what? Right now, what I want is like a very specific like chocolate cake with some like ganache on top, some like
Pizza.
mousse filling. Like if I could just eat that all day long and not have it affect me at all, that is what I would
I'm
want. So,
completely incapable of eating fewer than 3 slices of pizza, and so that would be very
all right. So, somebody please in the chat or somebody listening, please work on making this a superpower that we can all catch on and have because I think that would be fantastic. But hey, we're going to jump into some Report Pro. So, a little bit of what is new and what is coming up in our vast library of insights. Everything that Claire and I work on, as well as the rest of the Data Central Publications team, are all in this amazing library. So, as we talk about food and how we don't want it to have any calories, but we may want some other things in them, some benefits, if you will. We have just published this Food as Medicine Hotshot report. So I thought this was a big stat that 92% of consumers have used food to accomplish at least one health or fitness goal. And I thought it was interesting. I kind of looked at, we have this big chart that talks about, which of these, what do you look for in a food to help you improve specific health goals and well-being and such. And so I'm going to spout out some of the options that we had on that. And so we had like, give your body energy, helping you feel the best, helping you look the best, living longer, performing the best. What do you think was the highest out of those? Any guesses in the chat as well as Claire? Weight management, of course, a big one. Again, those things were like energy, weight management,
I
feeling
leaned
the
towards
best.
energy, but I don't actually know this. I don't remember what that chart said.
Yeah, it's kind of a it's kind of a deep cut there that I was looking at, but I thought it was interesting. Yes, energy was actually the biggest one. Weight management was up there and feeling the best. What I thought was really surprising is that second to last was looking the best. So, I think in other days it was kind of all about that body image or that kind of layer to it. But now it's all about feeling, having the best energy and things like that. And then mid-year trends. We cannot believe mid-year is already coming up. So just a little sneak preview. We always do our annual trends as well as our mid-year trend report, kind of just checking in on those things that we hear a lot from clients, wondering how things are going to be affecting the next, half year to a year. So in June, look out for our 2025 mid-year trends report. We're going to talk about everything from the economy to GL1Ps or GLP1s. I always mix that up. As well as ultra processed foods, make way for whimsy. We're going to talk about that design trend as well as a food and beverage trend that we're noticing. So keep your eyes out and peeled for the mid year trends report. And now we will dive into summer trends, kind of the meat of today's webinar, if you will. So we've got that nice grilled pineapple there, and kind of that, symbol of summer is a lot of grilled things, if you will see in the next few slides, as well as all of that fresh summer fruit and veggies. So we have almost 50% of consumers are associating the summer season with special flavors, dishes, LTOs, and new menu items. So, a lot of times we look at these seasonal items and see, how interested people are in that specific season. So we have things like lemonade and slushies and all of the good, refreshing things in summer, and a good amount of consumers are interested in those and are associating that summer season with being able to get those. We see that 60% almost of consumers are interested in purchasing those limited edition, retail items, kind of the summer bod of retail items, as well as the summer version of things. So almost 60%. It's always good to have that, like, are you associating summer with some of these special items, but then also seeing, are you actually interested in purchasing those? So we see that good amount of purchase intent for these summer items. Summer, of course, is a lot about travel. We've got, summer breaks from kids from school and all of that. So we saw that, over 60% of consumers were planning or already have booked a vacation for some time in 2025. And then particularly about, choosing a destination within the US, about a third of consumers are choosing that destination based on some of those food and beverage offerings in that city. Claire, do you have summer travel coming up? I forget.
I feel like I'm always so boring. I'm like, I'm gonna go to Kansas City, and then usually we go to Michigan, but we're going to go to
Mhm.
Wisconsin. We aspire to be lake people, so we are exploring a
Nice,
couple small Wisconsin towns.
nice. Yeah, people ask me about summer traveling as well, and I feel like summer is the best season in Chicago, so we
Yeah, I try not to
often
go
stay
anywhere.
put. Yeah,
I traveled to Chinatown last week. That's my
nice, nice. That's a trip. Think that counts. And in summer of 2024, the hottest, pun intended, month for LTO's new menu items, returning items was June. So, right kind of in the middle of summer, before, we get too big into the season, having those LTOs out. And so looking at summer menu trends as well, it's we try often to we try a lot to predict the future. We don't know what this summer will bring, without a doubt what it'll bring. But of course, looking at the trends from last year is such a great way to see, that movement and what direction we might be going in. So for the savory, just taking a quick look at that and that background picture, I think it's very obvious that everything is barbecue. Not just like two types of ribs, or actually, there's just rib in general, pork rib, barbecue rib. So all of the ribs, and then as well as barbecue in there several times. And then, grilled items, grilled pineapple, pulled pork, even the elote speaks to kind of that grilled esque, those types of food. So very summer picnic barbecue vibes. And then on the sweet side, I thought that was interesting that maraschino popped right up there. Guava, I love to see that kind of in the next iteration of some of these tropical flavors, like the pineapple, more established. But I know that Dunkin' has released recently like a guava refresher. And then as well as we see a lot of pumpkin. So right in there, there's three different pumpkin ones. And yes, we are still talking about summer, but in a few slides, and yes, I see some people saying pumpkin question mark. Um, oh, grilled blueberry. Is that on there? Or are we just saying that could be
I think
interesting?
we're trying to figure out the
Um,
savory. It's salads. It's mostly blueberry
oh,
salad is what's
oh,
top
yes.
savory.
Lots of the fresh blueberries in the salads. Yes, I can see that for sure. But we will talk later about why pumpkin is popping in the summer. And then just looking at a few of these standout LTOs from last year. So this superstar, ribs and barbecue chicken dinner, that big corn on the cob. Love that presentation was still like the end of that. What is that called? Is it just called the cob or the husks? The little, there's good little handle there. You don't need those like special fork things that some people use on that corn. But this already says classic summertime classic. Has those ribs as well as that signature barbecue sauce on the grilled chicken. So it's a superstar with that 96 there as well. And then s'mores, right? That's a big summer thing. Love this rendition from BJ's Restaurant and Brew House. They have the graham cracker s'mores pizookie. I think I'm saying that right. I know that's like one of their signature items. And this has, that nice little, almost looks like a little snowman, like half a snowman there with those two scoops of ice cream. We've got a triple chocolate cookie base on the bottom there. You see those great like toasted marshmallows, the graham crackers off to the side. 54% uniqueness on that, as well as an 80 composite score. The only thing missing when I looked at this, I was like, is this s'mores? Because where's the chocolate, right? I guess it's that base with the triple chocolate, but I don't know. I would have loved a little chocolatey drizzle on there just to like tie everything off together with that s'mores theme. And then we're gonna like take a look at some summer holidays. A couple of holidays, of course, come to mind, and I don't know. I just feel like the entire summer, especially for me in Chicago, is just a celebration of how nice it is, and everyone kind of like getting out of their houses and kind of an exodus of like, oh my gosh, there's people in the city because people are finally kind of coming out of their cocoons from the winter and spring. So we see Pride Month, coming up next month. That is a big kind of summer one. So we see that actually, I was a little surprised at how close this was. We often ask, for all of these holidays, if you celebrate it, are you going to a restaurant or bar to celebrate? Are you going to a friend's house? We see that commonly, friend or family's house, commonly for Thanksgiving or some of those bigger like winter holidays, much more of a communal thing, or are you just making something at home, right? So, actually, 35% of consumers for Pride Month go to a restaurant or bar, but very close behind is that 31 who are celebrating at home with foods and beverages. And so, just an example of something that you can do for Pride Month, we've got this Pride cake from Mod Pizza, pretty, normal vanilla cake, and you got those rainbow sprinkles on top. I know this is kind of one of those holidays where, there can be clamoring about like, oh, you're just, putting rainbow things on anything and calling it good and showing that you have like, pride, whatnot. I think it's always nice when there is that kind of call out as well, like Mod Pizza here, they're going to make a donation as well for an LGBTQ plus, youth organization. So sometimes having that, but the rainbow sprinkles or a lot of the rainbow, kind of decorations are something that can be pretty easily incorporated into items. I saw a lot of, donuts, rainbow donuts, and things like that. And then July 4th, of course, is another big summer holiday. We see that 55% of consumers are associating those special flavors and LTOs with the 4th of July, and then more so with Gen Z than boomers. We've got, again, this is a nice and kind of, almost like a low hanging fruit where there's a lot of also the red, white, and blue that you can do, a lot of donuts and cookies and things like that that you can shape in that flag or have a pretty easy, just a nod to the holiday in that summer season. So this was a superstar all American mucho, kind of slush there from Applebee's. So have the iconic red, white, and blue. Put some Tito's vodka in there. Everyone's happy. You've got the red rat, or you got the blue raspberry and the strawberry. I can also kind of see this as an easy thing to do, without that vodka and have it be kind of a special treat for kids. Very reminiscent of those. I think I'm getting it right. Remember those like ice cream pops that were kind of like a rocket ship?
They're the bomb
Uh,
pops.
Is that what it was called? And they had like the red, white, and blue.
Firecracker, rocket pops, they've got all sorts of.
Rocket, something like that. Yeah, that's what that kind of brings in that imagery with me as well. So anything with that red, white, and blue to tie into that holiday. And then some key summer categories. I will give you a guess at what one of them will be, and that is, of course, the barbecue. But that was a leading one. So last summer, major chains, 73 different LTOs, new menu items that touched on that barbecue. And I think it's great to kind of showcase some of those examples that, aren't just the ribs or just kind of that barbecue chicken. I don't know, for me, a lot of times when I'm out, I love that big messy rib, but there are some occasions, not for me, not a first date for me, but if there's like first dates or things like that, or like a business meeting, you don't exactly want to have like the big gigantic rib slathering sauce everywhere, right? Or when I'm out with my kid, I like have to eat the things that like, I can easily like put away and not like the messy wings and stuff like that. But so something that still nods to barbecue, but is easier to eat for those occasions, the shaved barbecue brisket flatbread. We've got the pesto, you've got a cilantro ranch, and then of course that barbecue brisket on there. And then Claire is going to talk about, she's going to interrupt not interrupt, but balance
Don't
out
interrupt.
all of my babbling about
Add to.
barbecue.
I prefer to think of it as adding to.
Yes, adding to the conversation. Thank you.
Interjecting, maybe? Okay, so I will be interjecting with a little bit from our social listening and then also complemented with some like longer term trend from our launches and ratings. So as Renee mentioned, and we did a little bit of debuting last month, I think we looked at paper plane cocktails if you were with us.
Mhm.
We now have social listening in our Snap platform, which we're very excited about, and we wanted to sprinkle a little bit in here. So here I have the barbecue mentions over the past, I get what's that, 1.5 or so years. And then we have a couple circlings of the peak, and you can see that barbecue is one of those things, and you'll see the differences when we go through a couple other. Barbecue has just like it's just popular year round. Like some of those are a little lower, but like it's still there. It's not like something that kind of really dips out of fashion. Barbecue is just a flavor that has year round appeal, and especially so in July. And you will notice through many of these that we see some dips just year over year as we are seeing some rebellion and social media kind of shifting in what people are doing. Lots of folks are kind of leaving social media. So if we see trends later on where there's stuff popping more recently, we should really keep an eye on those. But barbecue is a perennial favorite. And these are mentioned. So these are like the posts themselves. And then if I'm not mistaken, my next one is the engagement. So we have posts and then we have the interaction with said posts. So like, do people like it? Do people share? Do people comment? All that good stuff. So sometimes you'll see like there's, a huge moment where something went viral. Barbecue, again, similar shape to the graph, I would say, where you see those same peaks. And then another fun thing we can do with the new data is we can kind of see what was driving some of that. So we've got we filter specifically on like English language, just because that's what our data is in. And so we have Heinz, this Heinz UK, their classic barbecue was important last spring. Um, and then we have, a little bit of back to ribs with our friend from The Office and showing that. So that was another big hit. And the barbecue popularity, what we have, we've chosen to filter it more focused on English speaking, but there's stats for barbecue all across, and we'll see a little bit more of that momentarily. I did break out themes sauce, which is, I guess, kind of a silly choice because far and away the most popular thing for barbecue was just like the call out of barbecue sauce. But I love barbecue sauce, but I am a barbecue purist, and so I actually don't like to sauce my truly smoked barbecue. So maybe it's my own bias coming out here and wanting to show you the proteins. But I also like that this really shows some differences and the moment. So you can see we saw that previous slide where there was that really big engagement moment for ribs. You can see that reflected here with the ribs peak in May 2024 again. And then you can see chicken kind of having some ups and downs. And then at the bottom, burnt ends trying to happen. And then brisket, actually, I really love this brisket chart because it shows that brisket skews a little bit to the fall, which makes sense to me as it's kind of a longer item and you just don't always want to sit outside and smoke meat in the depths of summer for a really, really long time. So I was wondering if that played a role, but I love that you can see that seasonality and kind of the shifts over time.
Yeah, and I think that's smart to take out the sauce because, barbecue sauce is just such a ubiquitous, condiment too that you can have it kind of on a lot of different things that are not super barbecue specific, right? Like you'd probably pull like pizzas and things like that as well.
And then I did want to overlay it with since we're talking about seasonal LTOs, I figured we would do over time, not just the seasonal stuff that you share, Renee, focuses more on like the most recent set of data, whereas this we can kind of look over time. And barbecue look at this perfect chart. It looks like we made up the numbers, just the year over year, just like a classic favorite. I was like, wow, that's a perfect looking little chart.
Hmm. Yeah, that is very cool. Ooh, and then I think you have some blueberry data
Yes, I
as
am. I
well.
did do blueberries, and blueberries did not pop in the summer this year, but we'll see why that is in just a moment.
Ooh.
So
The
we've got
suspense.
I know, so exciting, blueberry suspense. Blueberry mentions, the blueberry mentions do peak in the summer, which I think is sort of interesting. But when we look at the LTOs, you'll see sort of a different story. So blueberry mentions do peak in the summer, and the pairings tend to be, I think the next slide I went with engagement again. It's a pattern. If you're all paying attention, you'll notice I do that over and over for the next 30 minutes together. So blueberry engagements, you can kind of see some of these pulling out the key themes that happen for blueberry, right? We see breakfast pancakes.
Mm,
We see some pastry things happening. We see kind of like that's what's happening for the most part for blueberry, at least as far as social media is concerned. It doesn't have that same savory skew that we see on restaurant menus because partially because blueberries are like a solid menu favorite at restaurants, like blueberry muffin. So you don't see the
mm.
same jumps in a seasonality. Next.
Right. They're pretty year round.
Yeah. And then here, this is why we didn't necessarily see blueberries show up this year. As I recall, Jacqueline, I think, covered blueberries last year because they had a massive spring, actually. So I think blueberries in the prior iteration when we were doing this last year, it was spring where they popped. When they used to pop in summer, you can see in 2021 and 2022, they are now kind of shifting earlier to spring, which is why they're
Mm.
not covered in the summer info that Renee shared.
Gotcha. Yeah, and my favorite thing is to say bloobs. I think we've covered that on a different webinar as well, where I
Yeah,
had to say
and the chat
bloobs
is
for
noting, like, it
bloobs.
makes more sense. Blueberries lean to being a spring fruit, so it does make more sense. Like, if you try to go blueberry picking in July or August, I wish you good luck. And so the as we want to focus on making seasonality really true, but then we have the pumpkin story coming up, so conflicting
Yeah.
information.
So we've got that pumpkin, right? So a lot of you were like, "What pumpkin? What are we talking about in summer?" But it appeared in almost 90 different LTOs and menu items last summer. And kind of looking at, I forget, will you kind of mention later the why? I think so. Let me just highlight this then. But kind of bridging that gap, of like, pumpkin in summer. Well, we are seeing things like, kind of having that's pumpkin cheesecake ice cream pop, not wanting to specifically get into maybe pumpkin spice or some of the sweater weather type things quite yet, like your pumpkin spice latte. But having this kind of bridge it with a summer take on pumpkin. This looks delicious. Pumpkin cheesecake soft serve, and then it's wrapped in that white chocolate shell. Very unique. Definitely not seeing too many like pumpkin ice cream type things, right? And then also has that 79 composite score for specialty appeal. And yep, people are getting to it in the chat here. Seasonal creep. That's a good
Okay,
it's a good
the
way to
seasonal
put it, Pat.
The seasonal creep is sort of interesting because though we do start to see chatting when they're released, and that it tends to be August. Some people are going as early as July, but those LTOs are releasing more right in August. So these are the mentions, the posts about it. They don't really social doesn't start chatting about it and posting as much till September, October. So maybe you're secretly indulging in your summer pumpkin spice latte, but you are not telling your followers that you're doing it until the season approaches or until it feels like it makes a little more sense.
Right, kind of a controversial thing, right? Like I feel like there's two camps. There's the people who are like, give me pumpkin spice all year round. I'll drink it in the summer. I don't care. And then there's some people who are like, right, like you said, they're secretly having it because they've missed it, but they don't exactly want to like say, I'm so
I'm
into it
such
that
a
I'm
stickler, of course. I feel like everything about me says I wait till October.
right. There's the people who are like strict, like, no, we are not moving from summer until,
I want all my
into fall.
seasons to have their moment, okay? That's all.
Yeah, that is the nice thing about a place with Chicago or some of the places that do have those distinct
Oh,
seasons,
okay, and
right?
then we'll do the next slide, and I think it'll help answer Caitlin's question too here. So you can actually see It doesn't say it here. I have some more post examples later on, but the social stats are based on a variety of different platforms, so it's not just one. We're pulling from a number from that kind of puts them all together. So it does go across others, and it'll be more obvious soon that it's across a bunch of different platforms. But here's our pumpkin engagement, and you can sort of see the shifting. August, there's this like light and fluffy little cake pie situation, and then we're getting into like the baked goods and the candies. And then there's these very kitschy, pretty little pumpkins floating
Ooh.
there in October.
Is that like a pumpkin gnocchi almost, or a pumpkin kind of pasta dish there?
I didn't dig any further, but that is what it looked like to me.
Right, right. Oh yeah, and Christmas in July. That is a good. I wonder if we'll see something like that pop too, like as people celebrate some of these like, lesser like, like a Galentine's and things like that, right? Definitely a good call out there.
And then I wanted to do the pumpkin launches, and you can see that kind of distinct flattening of the curve there in 2024, whereas before it would like really hit and fall. The 2024, it starts to like level out, and summer is starting to take much more share from fall as far as launches of pumpkin
Mm,
limited time offers. And then you can see that like there's just no pumpkin outside of those seasons, like it flat out
yeah.
like bottoms out there.
That is interesting because, with so much pumpkin, it seems like it could be something, but it's one of those things, right? Like if you give it to people all year long, the novelty kind of wears off, right? Like you have to have kind of the distinct time to be looking forward to it, right? Almost like the McRib and things like that, I feel.
Yeah. And then before I get into beverage trends, I see Kay has a question about Wagyu. That one was actually enough sample to be like a little bit lower on the chart. The others didn't show up as like a top engagement mention. Okay, so beverage trends. We were trying to think of one. We always get questions on, tell us more about beverage. So if we leaned too far into the other side, let us know. But beverage is top of mind as I prep for our non-alcoholic beverage webinar, which will be, I think it's late June. So not yet, but it's approaching. We wanted to think about where we could head with coffee. We just decided to lean into coffee with the pumpkin spice thinking. So I did look in our most recent menu trends data for top growing coffee varieties. And I got a little bit excited. One, the Cafeteria is on here, but two, I got really excited for vanilla ice cream
That's
because we added
interesting.
that to the iced coffee menu adoption cycle like 2 or 3 years ago, and it felt a little wacky to do, but
Hmm.
I'm feeling okay about it because the data is good. And then if you go to the next slide,
So wait, are you gonna explain why
yeah,
coffee, the
of
ice cream?
course.
Okay. I'm
No,
just
I'm just going
making
to tell you,
sure.
and you all
I'm
just have to
speaking.
experiment and check for me and report back. So I did this one. I had to get a good special poll because it has pretty low samples, so it wasn't built up in our Snap platform. But I did get the iced coffee float, and you can see like it had a really big moment. These are, it's a smaller sample, but it had a big moment last spring, and so I feel like it could make sense. For one, I saw a couple different things. Yes, so there's
I was gonna say
affogato,
affogato.
of course, which is hot coffee with ice cream. But the
Mhm.
iced coffee with ice cream tends to be, next slide, there's
Interesting.
what I think is interesting about it and why I think it could work is
Mhm.
because a bunch of cultures have it. Basically, if you live somewhere that is warm a lot, unshockingly, you like to put ice cream in your coffee. Weird, right?
Yeah.
So Australia, it's actually just called
Mm.
Australian iced coffee, and there are several
Oh.
instances in the US of people doing it. It's an iced coffee float. And then Indonesia has their own version that features avocado, either like blended in a smoothie situation, and then you
Oh.
top it. And then there's also, I believe, a Turkish version that involves more chocolate. They call it like a glacé or something like that, which I think is
Ooh.
common across a variety of European, um,
Mm.
leaning into Asia cultures. So
That
anyway,
makes
please
sense
make
because
this
yeah,
happen for me, everybody. I would love ice cream in my iced coffee.
I was thinking, I was like, it couldn't just be from avocados, could it? But that was
No,
my
no,
first
no,
guess.
because
Now,
it's all iced coffee.
see, that's good that I didn't peek at your slides too closely because
There you go. There's
I have
surprises
the
waiting.
genuine reactions of, are we making sure we're going to talk about why?
And
But you
then
got it
another
covered.
one that it's a little bit lower down on the coffee list, so it didn't show up in my top 10. I think it's like number 20 or something. But there's Americano, which is, of course, just espresso with generally hot water, right? That are like, that's the idea. And it was common, I don't know, gosh, it feels like it was yesterday, but probably 5 to 10 years ago before iced coffee and cold brew like really took off. Places that didn't have them would kind of try to make like an iced Americano and make it work. And that still is some people's favorite. So Americano is pretty established on coffee and tea menus, but it actually has pretty strong growth potential with 18% over the next 4 years and putting it in the 92nd percentile. And I have these things, and you can tell me in the chat if you have seen these things, if you are being fed these different Americanos as well. So we
Mhm.
talked about drinks, food giving us energy. What gives energy better than coffee? But also people want hydration. So the coconut water Americano seems to be coming for us, and I'm not the only one who thinks so. If we go to that next slide. Food and Wine definitely called it like, is this the summer of coconut water Americanos? And then
Mhm.
there's a bunch of people kind of calling out different ones, recreating the viral coconut Americano. So that paired with Americanos growing on menus seems um, to be just something to keep in mind. But it's not the
Mhm.
only Americano I have my eye on.
Yeah, I like the strawberry cold foam one on the
I
bottom
know.
there as well.
I don't,
Anything with a little pink, of course. I was talking
of
about
course,
my
that's
love
what
of
the one you like.
the cherry chai that I love, and people are like, "Is it just because it's pink?" And I'm like, "No, it's delicious, and it's pink."
And then as an early matcha adopter, I was
Mm.
excited to see the concept of a matcha Americano growing and definitely having some big growth these past couple of months as far as social media engagements. People kind of liking and sharing posts about it. And then we've got some examples of such posts. So it's people kind of doing both is another one. This one in the bottom left hand, again with your pink. There's like some pink type of coconut water, but they kind of merge the
Yes.
two. So we have the coconut Americano, which is supposed to be with coffee, but this person was like, why not merge these two trends? And then a couple other instances.
Very
And it's
interesting.
true. It may not happen for matcha because matcha is definitely one of those things that people are stocking up on at the
Mm,
moment, and supply chain will be a challenge.
that's true.
But that's the pro of Americano is it stretches an ingredient. So there's that. Coffee flavors, these are some top growing coffee flavors. So some of these you can see pumpkin spice, but there's also some others that could work well for a fall moment. I know we've talked about orange, specifically blood orange, as a really good option for fall drinks. So that one's still growing. Chocolate, always good in the fall. Turmeric, I feel like has a nice, like it literally looks like fall. So that's
Yeah,
a good
yeah.
one.
Pumpkin
Um,
spicy, kind of same
and
warming
then pecan, I
flavors.
feel like can do some nice warming
Pecan.
things in the
Mm,
fall too. But I
yes.
decided to focus on honey because I don't know. You ever have one of those things where you just see like four or five of them in the wild, and you're like, "Is this a thing that's happening?" And
Oh,
so
I
I want
love
to
the
try to prove
honey.
it with with menu.
I
It's
love it.
the cafe miel is sort of a funny one because, of course, Starbucks has a honey latte, like almost every, but it's that pairing of honey and vanilla that kind of
Mm,
takes it to the next level. And there's certainly some evidence that it could work out as far as social
mm.
media engagements. And then the next slide, of course, has some more examples on that. I like this one particularly. There's this one has oat milk paired with it, and then I like just the idea that all of these part of the kind of the appeal of the cafe meal is it feels like you're transported to like Spain or France
Mm.
or something, and as people want kind of that full experience with their coffee, it seems like something that could work.
Yeah, and you could also like I saw that other one that was like honey, it looks like orange blossom honey possibly or something like that. So you can do like different varieties and different
That's
flavors
true.
of
You can call
honey.
out the variety of honey. And then I
Mhm.
saw there's another comment in the chat of the matcha Americano. Does it have coffee in it? Not in the like more viral version, but something that is kind of showing up in our data is just dirty espresso drinks of all kinds. So
Mm.
classically the dirty chai, of course, with espresso, but people are doing that to matcha as well as
Uh,
hot chocolate. And the turmeric latte is traditionally done without any espresso added, but the reason it's showing up in the top growing is because now they're adding the espresso too. So it's
I
kind
feel
of
like that's a lot of caffeine with the matcha and the espresso.
I
It's
mean,
like,
you say that like it's a bad thing.
wait, no,
As long as it's before 2 p.m., it's all good.
right, right. That's true. I think one of my favorite coffee drinks of all time was like the honey latte they had at Pete's Coffee. And like, I remember when they were like, I was like, oh, shouldn't they still have that? Because it's just like a honey syrup or whatever. And when they didn't have it, I was like, oh my goodness, like that was so good. And it was different somehow from all the other honey lattes. I don't know what they did to it. Oh, a strawberry honey latte. I see a lot of strawberry with the matcha as well, that color, the pink and the green. So much of that. I went to a store recently and everything was like pink and green. So I think that's actually like you and me, Claire, because I'm pink and you love the green. So that's just us like coming together. And this is a good one to come together with dog and cat lovers of all kinds. Just checking in on some of the news and cool stuff that has been happening, lately. And then we also have some other ties to our social engagement as well here as some call outs. So let's see what has been going on in, as you said, in the wild when you see some of these cool trends, like actually spotting them and seeing them. I actually, side note, real quick, I saw chamoy like gummy rings at CVS the other day. And like I did a presentation at Dot Innovations about chamoy, and I could not find chamoy very easily. But then yesterday I walked into CVS and that was the first thing I saw. So very interesting. And what is this, Claire? Aftershock.
So this one is from Athletic Brewing Company, and they're doing a collaboration with the head chef of Monteverde, and oh, sorry, if we can go back. So what I think is interesting about it is one, it has lime leaf and yuzu, and two, that it's actually, of course, I think each year we talk a little bit about mental health and like
Mm,
food service workers and the month of May. This is another collaboration where all the folks who will be offering it and anything that sells from their website will go to a specific foundation to provide support and resources for those food and beverage workers' well-being. So it's both cool and trend forward.
mhm,
Chicago chef, so promoting that Chicago is the place to be, and then also just kind of interesting flavors.
Yeah, May I think is Mental Health Awareness Month, correct?
Mhm.
I remember we did a an issue on that quite a few years ago now, but yeah, something to remember. I didn't look into this too much, but this is just like the cutest little thing ever.
One, the branding is beautiful. Two, my
Yes.
absolute favorite. I have, if you were like Claire, another thing that I would like to have 0 calories are Ritz crackers. They're like my absolute favorite snack. And so I love the idea of these that are just like baked a little bit extra crispy
Mm,
because I do think there's such appeal in like crunch. I didn't, this is a slight aside, but I did not know Illuminati's in Chicago here. There are actually folks who will special order that you purposefully burn their pizza a little bit
mm.
so it gets those little spots on it. So I think it's just that idea for people that like things a little extra toasty. So I
This
will
is really
definitely have
smart.
to try these.
Have you tried them yet?
I have
Like,
not. I only
I
just found out
wonder,
they exist, but I will report
yeah. Okay, I wonder if they're like extra crispy. It says
back.
baked to a crisp, but I
So
wonder
many
if it's the
questions. So
color
I'm gonna
and
have to
the
compare them. I'm
yeah,
a
yeah.
Ritz
There's only
cracker
one way to
purist.
find
I'll
out.
try.
Yes, I was thinking, Bridget, the extra toasty Cheez-Its, which I was saying that my 4-year-old is like 90% Cheez-It at this point, but I think he would look at the toasted ones and be like, those are burnt, mommy. But very cool thing to just kind of switch up a classic product, right?
I think that, yeah, and then I think this is my last one. But this, I feel like we have to talk about some sort of chicken finger or
Mm,
wing or something. But McDonald's introduced their McCrispy strips with their creamy chili sauce, which I guess everyone has heard about. They released them. I guess some franchisees released them in a rebellious way earlier. They were truly full launch this past Monday. But
mm.
our particular McDonald's decided to launch them a week or two prior, which I guess they're allowed
Oh,
to, and they hired
uh,
this extremely enthusiastic person to wear a chicken suit and just flail by Cicero Avenue for 2 straight days. And
oh
this
boy.
person was really working for it, and they got my kids' attention when we went to go get Minecraft
I
Happy.
wish you would have gotten a video.
I have regrets that it's not a video, but I
Yeah.
don't like to add videos because sometimes it gets choppy, but
It
I
does,
comprehend
yeah,
that.
it doesn't work the best on PowerPoint, but I can just imagine that. That is funny. I remember I used to get their chicken strips a lot, and then they went, didn't they call them like McTenders or something a little bit I don't
I
know. I
think
don't
they
remember
were strips, but
McCrispy.
they're considering these the reiteration, but like they
Oh,
had decked out the McDonald's. There were balloons and McDonald's colors everywhere. There was
oh,
this
like a
dancing
bunch of
chicken.
chickens and
It was,
stuff.
and Lily, I have read that the snack wrap or a close iteration is coming back, so keep an eye out.
Oh, this is bad news that they are delicious in all caps, Karen. Don't tell me that. Are those going to be, maybe this will be the new 0 calorie thing that we all need in our lives, okay? But yeah, some other fun things that I saw. I thought this was an April Fool's joke, very late in the game, but no, I guess 5 Hour Energy has done some very interesting things and collaborations in the past. So if you, we talked a lot about coffee. I know there's people who are like staunchly like do not like coffee or don't like that taste of coffee. So if you're not a coffee person, you're not a tea person, but you need some energy, you could down some hot sauce. I mean, I think that is a perfect occasion. I'm sure there's lots of people in that camp who would rather have energized hot sauce than a tea or coffee. But this one is a mango habanero Taco John's collaboration with 5 Hour Energy. So I thought that was an interesting one there. They've done a couple of those. So, as spice is continuing to be hot, and then of course I feel like everyone wants more energy, right? That was that top health item as well. So there's ways to do it with that 5 hour energy energizing hot sauce. And then, have you seen these? So, little tree culture is something that we keep talking about. I think it's one of those things that I'm talking about like ad nauseum. I think it's just such a big trend for right now. People living for the now. These look really good too. I think everything in this deck should actually just be 0 calories. If we can kind of petition every maker of these items to just please figure out how to make it 0 calories, that would be great. These are strawberries and cream little pie poppers from KFC. So, if you remember, they did, I think Little Tree Culture is often very heavily skewed towards beverages and sweets, but they had that kind of savory version with the mashed potato poppers. But now they have, I guess, a year or two ago, they did cherry, and so now they have these strawberries and cream ones. And again, just even on the nostalgia. I mean, I think every time you say strawberries and cream, I just think of the cream savers. I think of the orange dreamsicles. You get all these kind of thoughts of nostalgia and those fun flavors. Also, another kind of collaboration that hints at the little treat culture, as well as the love of coffee, but bringing those flavors into a different format. Not just the Dunkin' donuts or coffee, but there's a collaboration here with Cars Nuts. They have these Dunkin' frosted donut sprinkle peanuts or nuts, as well as a caramel cold brew one. So those sound really interesting. A good way to like have some of those treats be more snackable as well, which I guess is a big thing, but like a little bit more savory and not just like dessert, right? And then we have all of these, so much beverage. I think that was good that we were talking about beverage a lot today. We get asked so many questions about all the different beverages, lines into the little treat culture very well, of course, too. And so we have the frozen strawberry and nerds beverage. On the left there, Burger King has done a lot of different collaborations with candy. Perfect little crossover, right? You can have some of the candy sprinkled on top there. On the slushy, you have like the double sweet beverage as well as a sweet candy or dessert to really highlight that little treat culture, really going big in on indulgence. And then we've got the unicorn slush there in the middle from Sonic. I feel I was talking to people before as well about kind of that first iteration of social media trends, right? And so almost that like version zero, the ground zero of it was kind of this unicorn rainbow craze, coming back again, you know, a little bit here with some of these fun beverages like this one. This has a vibrant pink slush, which is music to my ears, magical flavor bubbles, fluffy cloud of whipped cream, shimmering sugar crystals, hard to say there. And that is a LTO from Sonic. And then have you guys heard of the McDonald's hack for cotton candy Sprite? Have you heard of this, Claire?
Can't say that I have.
So this is one of those like secret menu items, and shout out to Marlin Connections and Action Food Service. I did their dish course podcast yesterday, and we were talking about a lot of these items. But apparently there's this hack at McDonald's, and I suppose you could pretty much do it anywhere. But you get Sprite, and what do you guys guess you would add? Something that just they have a good amount of places would have, and it turns into a cotton candy Sprite. Apparently tastes just like it. Not the nerds. And like I was talking like what is the flavor of cotton candy, right? Like it's more of that look and that it's just very sugary. I don't know that anybody's gonna get it. Claire, any guesses? Slightly tangy sugar. Actually, someone's very close. Let me see the name of who guessed. Angie, vanilla syrup. That is the closest, I think. But apparently 3 pumps of French vanilla syrup and Sprite. You get cotton candy Sprite. So I don't know. We'll have to try that. I think there's probably a lot of different ways to do this too, to make like little creations. And somebody mentioned like dirty soda. Definitely some of these fun iterations that I think people just kind of, you know, try to do themselves at home and figure out this new hack. So very interesting there. And then Claire is going to talk about another flavor that leads us into another new recent news and some social media stuff and all of that. So let's see. What do you have about pistachio other than it is that green that you love? I know.
Are we asking people to guess why I'm bringing up pistachio? Renee asked
That
me to pop this in here because she's gonna talk
that
about some
that is
pistachio.
after
Oh,
this.
yeah, 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 I'll guess it. And the data kinda goes with it. This looks a little different than our other slides because I just grabbed it directly from the Snap platform. So this is what it looks like on the front page of our Snap platform.
Mm.
And you can see that while pistachio has had steady growth over the past 4 years, it's a very established flavor. So it's, just been a little bit of growth, but you can see that kind of big, bump there. I wanna say that was May. No, did I tell you? I told you it was like May 2024, when it happened, as the big bump. And then the next slide, we also can, with our social listening information, we have pairings of what call outs are most common and how that has shifted over the past month. So, what's most common over the past 90 days, and then how that has shifted, and then any call outs to places. So, you can see one that pistachio is still predicted to grow that same slow and steady rate on menus over the coming number of years. And then we do see Dubai chocolate having many of the top terms do show a little bit of decline just because overall posting is declining, but you will see positive gains in there. Dubai chocolate is not one of those gains, but you can see gains when we look at the places, including but not limited to Shake Shacks. But more on that later.
And I did not read that closely enough to see that you had that info right there on Dubai chocolate. But anyway, so for some giggles here, let's launch this summer poll here. Why might pistachios be trending? We did see a lot already in the chat, and I told myself not to say social media, but then I said it and I couldn't take it back, and I think everyone knew. But this is the question: why is it trending? And actually, pistachio milk is a top growing I think
Is.
we had it under sauce or flavor in menu trends.
I thought we were going to ask, I thought our poll question, maybe we can just do it in the sidebar here. I was going to ask
Mhm.
how, despite it being something we've talked about for months now and seen in social media, how many people how many people have actually tried it, or did they have a favorite iteration they've tried it? I tried it in
Mm.
drinking chocolate nearby, which was really good.
I know I've had I found one of the bars, a different brand, of course, not the crazy one, from actual like Dubai. But yes, it's very, very good. For those of you who haven't heard of Dubai chocolate or want a little primer reminder on that, we did cover that in our social media sensations. How do we get that off? Okay. Our social media sensations, also a little hard to say, but also fun to say. Publication that focuses just on all of these social media trends, right? So Dubai chocolate kind of came in really, really hot. It is that chocolate wrapped chocolate bar was the first kind of iteration. It has that pistachio cream inside for that very, really vibrant green. And then it has that crispy katafi phyllo dough in there as well. So we saw too, we test all these different social media items. 43% of consumers are interested in trying that. I want to see again in the chat if you can say whether you have tried any version of a Dubai chocolate yet. It seemed like most people had not. Is that true, Claire, if you look through it? Oh, we got a lot of yeses now as well. So um, maybe a little split on there, but everything from a Dubai chocolate cheesecake bar now taking off to Krispy Kreme in the UAE has their Dubai chocolate donut. The one on the bottom right I thought was really interesting too. We had those kind of chocolate strawberry or chocolate kind of drink cups where it has the shell on top and you break it. So this one combines that as well as the Dubai chocolate. And then just a few more here as we wrap up. Again, that shake there. We've got a over 1 pound chocolate bar that sells for $50 on Goldbelly. That's been making rounds on news, as well as, oh my gosh, this, okay, maybe this is the one. This is, if there's any one thing that's 0 calories in this issue, maybe it's this. Because the Dubai chocolate shake from Shake Shack looks amazing as well. I believe that was, where was that originally, Claire? It was somewhere overseas, right? I think at first, and then now they have brought it to like New York. I don't think Chicago was on the list. It's
Not
like New
so far.
York and Miami. You what?
I haven't, yeah, they haven't brought it so far, but I keep checking.
I know. We might have to, it might be worth a plane ticket, or if anybody from those locations wanna bring it on over to us to try. That does look really, really good. But that Dubai chocolate is really taking off and inspiring a lot of different items as well. So that is our main portion of the Summer Trends webinar. Again, up next is that Data Central 500, June 12th. Here again, same link, same time at 12, right around lunch hour. So great way to work up your appetite or make you wish that you had eaten lunch before this. But as always, if you have any questions that we didn't answer, we try to read the chat as quickly as possible while we're presenting as well. But shout out, I love this little corgi, and shout out to Mother's Day is this weekend, and I know sometimes I like that now a lot of the businesses that do like these different promotions for Mother's and Father's Day will have you opt out. As I know those can be kind of sore spots for people with those occasions. But give the people in your life some love, mothers or not, or plant mothers, dog mothers, cat mothers, all of that. So thank you all.